right? So normally I set the laptop over here. Wait, shoot.
You're live.
Anyway, always changing things here on Answer Fancher. This is my Friday weekly wrap up. All the interviews that I did in the week, I'll put on the podcast. But hey, today Shawn Wright reached out to me, and he had some big news happen this week. I don't know if he counts it as big, but I think it's big. The Rutherford County Republican Party came out. They announced that they were supporting 3 different people for the city council. Shawn's one of them. The other 2 were Rick LaLance and then Terry Schneider, right? And so that's the 3 that they're suggesting. I replied back because I'm an opinionated guy, and I was like, you should do this for the school board as well. As far as I know, there's only one Republican in that race, and that would be Kevin Fisher. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know, and then I'll be sure to correct myself. But I'm fairly certain that he is the only Republican in that race. And the thing that most people don't realize is that these school boards have so much power because the state has given them tons of power. They once they make a suggestion, they come to the board, whether it be the council or the county commission, and they hold it for ransom, basically, right? They say, we need this money. Now you guys go figure out how to get it. And so that means things get cut, but, there's all these other babies that get thrown out, right? Like parks and ambulance service and all this stuff that can totally get smashed down because the school is wasting money. Now, I'm not saying our schools waste money, but there's always waste. You can always find somewhere to cut. And so, but if you don't elect someone on those school boards that is going to be willing to say we need to cut some things, they won't cut things. They just won't. There's always more needs. There's always something you can spend money on. Think about your family budget. How there's always something you can spend money on. Same thing in the school. There's always a new toy, new gadget to help stuff. But anyway, I got Shawn here, and good to see you, man.
I see you.
Second time on the show.
Second time on the show.
Right? And so why are you here, man? What's going on? You in a race or something?
I think I'm in a race. I'm a city council race. Early voting goes between now and the 28th, and election day is August 2nd, so we've got 13 days left. I don't know who's counting or anything, but
I bet your wife is.
That's right. Yeah. She's picking up the load. So
exactly.
Working, starting a new company, and running for office. I just have no time.
That's wild, man. So let me ask you this: how's the voter turnout so far?
We got a really, really low turnout right now.
Really low turnout.
Yeah.
So why? Right? Because we moved the city election to get greater turnout, so that way when voters come out, not only do they get to vote for this, but that, and city council.
Right.
So, and now the turnout is low.
I think you're getting some depressed turnout because everybody was excited for the gubernatorial and the Senate races, but now they're just getting ugly. So I think it's turning people away.
Sure.
And I know it's really contested on the Republican side. On the Democratic side, there's really not a contest. Both the senator and the governor are kind of, we know who they're
everybody had, right. But I really do like Fitzhugh a lot. I think he's a better politician. And Republicans, in my opinion, should be more afraid of him than Jeb Bush. Carl Dean. He's no energy, Carl Dean, like zero. So anyway, I met him. He came out to the Blackman barbecue, and I was just not. I was like, "This is Carl Dean. This is
what we're excited
right?
about.
Yeah. And the guy may be smart. Maybe you set him down behind a desk, and maybe he can really figure things out. But as far as getting out and pressing flesh. Guy looked like he had the flu, man.
He may be thinking he's got the Democratic nomination wrapped up, so.
And he knew he was in Red County, Rutherford County, so maybe that's why he was right. Yeah, but
and the way he spent money in Nashville, I don't think that'll equate Tennessee statewide.
Probably not. Yeah, he's gonna have a hard way to go.
Hard way to go.
The state legislature may give up some seats, but I don't think a blue wave's coming.
Not in Tennessee.
That's why Democrats focus so hard on these races that do not have R's and D's in them, like your race, right? There's no R and D in your race, and so people come in and they vote for who they think is the nicest. And if they work for government, which is our largest employer in Rutherford County and Murfreesboro, when you add all that together, it's by far the largest employee. They come out and vote for who's going to give them the best pay.
That's right.
You can't blame them.
No,
right?
No, it's self-certain.
And if people stay at home and let those people win that are going to do that, then, I think Madeline Scales has got to be the one that the employees are voting for. And I don't mean to call you out like that, right? But I'm just, from standing here on the sideline watching like I do, I feel like she's the one that really cares the most about the employees, and I bet they're coming in there casting votes for her.
That's probably a fair assessment.
You know, and I always see her signs near places where city owns property.
That's correct.
I don't know. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that.
And sometimes it's a little questionable. Like I'm like, does the city own that? And so anyway, just something I noticed. I've also noticed that sign ordinances seem to go out the window during city elections.
It seems that way.
Right? You know, you're supposed to have like 3 signs
per property.
Per property, and I've seen way more than that on a lot of properties. But when I was running many years ago, I can remember my sign disappearing.
Well, I've had several disappear too, but.
And that could be going back because I don't see you as a man that you're not a firefighter's friend.
No,
evidently, right? And so
I have friends that are firemen, but the firemen's union, they're not a friend of theirs.
Exactly right. And so, and what I have found through the years of watching politics is whoever that person is for is the person that's going to give them more benefits, more time off, you know, more of the things that all employees want, no doubt, right? And I think, you know, the hard part about being a first responder, that'd be a police officer or firefighter or, you know, anything in between, is that you're taking shots from both sides, right? You've got conservatives like myself that are like, man, I don't know if we should be giving all these benefits, making all these future promises. Their pensions are far wonderful than any common person's getting. But then they also receive shots from other side who say they have too much power and they take advantage of it. And that, you know, they judge one apple and then they judge the rest. And so I feel sorry for them in that situation. But I know you also have to hold the line. You have to be very careful because what happens if you don't hold the line, and you know this, right? Like in Detroit, Michigan, when they had to file bankruptcy, all those pensions got cut in half. All those people who thought they had benefits, they're 70 and they're making these, they're getting kicked on Obamacare. And so I just don't want to have to break promises later on.
Well, the one thing that the city did do a couple of years ago is they switched to more of a retired 401k type plan instead of a pension plan. Now you still have some guys out there with pension plans, but they're older. They're all getting close to retirement.
Okay.
So the pension guys, they're kind of.
Oh, really? So we don't have as much of a.
We don't have as much of an issue on that.
Okay.
I know the big topics for the firemen and the police were like 25 an hour, like. Do your time, retire.
Oh, okay. All right. How do you feel on that issue?
You know what? They give a lot of the community. They risk their lives every single day. I'm not totally against that.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's like.
Why weren't you a friend? Why didn't they pick you?
I don't know why they didn't pick me.
All right.
No, but it's not really a major cost to the city because unlike a pension where you take 5 years or 3 years of the last pay, where your highest thing, that's how you average your pension pay. That's a retirement plan. You're putting into it, and you're getting back what
totally
you put
different.
into it. So it's totally different.
Right. Okay.
So if that person that wants to retire early comes through and puts the money in, they handle their own business and they want to retire early, who's to say for us?
That's a very good point, right? I agree with that. I didn't realize that we had made such a switch. I thought they were still on.
No, there are some people out there with pensions, but they're few and far between.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good news. Great. Yeah. I'm glad you came on, man.
All right.
Learn all kinds of stuff, right? Exactly. So anything else going on that you know of in politics this week? What else happened?
Well, I think we're still talking about budgetary issues. We're talking about how much money the city of Murfreesboro has, and we're spending money over here, but saying we're saving it over here. We got to get all that cleaned up.
Now, the first time I brought you on, Shawn, I didn't ask you any tough questions. I didn't. And if you want to dodge these, you're more than welcome to.
I'll hit
but you're not. Look,
yeah.
Because I talked to you before the race began. I told you don't go into issues, and so when I brought you on here, we didn't talk issues. But let's talk issues since you're here, right?
And to add to that, I've been on my campaign Facebook page. I hit issues every day.
I know. And I was like, oh, it's doing issues. And so, because sadly, it's not about issues, man. You know, getting elected. I hope you do get elected. I really do. And I'm praying for it. But I've seen so many candidates run on issues and they just get mowed over by people who are talking about puppy dogs and parks. And, you know, that's what wins elections in Murfreesboro. And so, look, I'm going to tell you right now, if I ever run for office again, you're going to see postcards of puppy dogs and all my kids, and I'm not going to talk issues. I'm just not, right? They're going to be pulling up all these old videos going, here's how he stands on this and this. I'm like, yeah, but look at this great puppy dog, right? I mean,
look at my golden doodle.
You know, exactly. We're getting a big dog, kids. But it's just, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's how politics is now, you know. I'm hoping that'll change. I'm hoping, but when you have such low turnout, right?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, man? You got to give them what they want, right? And so my question is, how bad of a mess are we in? And can I blame Rob Lyons for it? Am I allowed to say that?
Well, I think the police department, the new building, I think there's a major. I mean, how does that even happen?
Right.
How do you get that far out of budget and nobody find out till the end? So, yeah, I guess you could blame Rob Lyons for that.
Someone was supposed to be in charge of watching over
Right,
that, right?
right.
A city planner would normally be the one watching over your budget as you go, because you got, well, not you, but our council, our mayor, they're all part-time, right? So they're not supposed that. Right. That's why we have a city planner.
The city manager comes in front of the council and says, "This is where we are fiscally." There we go.
Sure. Right.
So, there you go.
So you have to trust that.
Yeah, you have to trust it.
And I've heard, I mean, you're a candidate, and so you're not on the inside, but I've heard from people that are actually elected that he let us down.
That's what my understanding as well.
And that's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And I was for moving him along, and I'm hoping this new guy will be great. Did you read about Scott Broden tweeted about how the new city planner wants to put some different perks in place, like one to schedule some taxes or something like that differently for the bottoms, to develop the bottoms. Did you see about that?
I haven't read that already.
Okay, yeah. And so supposedly something that'll give some type of property tax break if you invest into areas over there.
I like that a lot better than the city doing the development.
Yeah,
I think the city should get out of the development business. We're not developers. If the city says, "Hey, we want to grow this area right here," do it with incentives and stuff like that, not by the city going on the dime. So,
well, because you're putting the taxpayer at risk. Then,
correct.
Right? You know, look how long they did Gateway, right? And then that's set on the books for a long time, and there's still property sitting on the books, right? And that's just not the role of government, in my opinion, nor in yours.
Nor in mine.
But the government can do things to incentivize people to give back, to develop.
That's right.
I wish they would do something instead of just focusing on the bottoms. I'm like, let's do all of downtown.
Let's do all of downtown.
Right.
And I'd like to see downtown like Market Square in Knoxville or Chattanooga's downtown.
Sure. Yeah.
Where it's just really vibrant. All local businesses, all local eateries, all local little shops, and it's a destination. You don't have to worry. It's not just for locals. People actually come to those areas to enjoy it.
Sure.
And so that's what I see downtown as.
You know, look, Bright. We just had ice cream from Mars. Gone.
Yeah, and they had the best peach ice cream anywhere in town.
The best coconut ice cream in the South.
Yeah.
And so, where can you get coconut ice cream? You just can't. And so, the last time I had it was in Mexico. So that's real far south.
Right.
And I can't help but feel that our government is in charge of putting burdens upon these businesses, especially those that are in downtown, because they keep them from being able to adjust their building spaces and change things. And so there's, I hear dealing with codes is a nightmare.
Well, I can say this as somebody who's done commercial real estate deals downtown.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is. The water department comes in, they tell you to do something, then codes comes in and tells you to do it the exact opposite of what the water department just did. So we need to, and I don't want to grow government. I think we should shrink government, but we need to have those offices work more fluid together.
Sure.
And maybe there's a form that says, hey, codes department says this, pass it along, go to water. And if the codes put it down in writing, it needs to just be, we don't need to be doing this.
Which is what happens a lot right now, right? And there's a new place called Float. I haven't had a chance to meet the owner of that yet, but I saw on a Facebook feed, she's complaining about the, somehow her plugins were not in the right spot or something like that. So, kept her from opening. And, as a business, if you're not open, you're not earning money.
That's right.
Right.
And the longer you're not open, the less likely your business is going to succeed.
And you're already up against, an entire storm against you trying to make sure you don't succeed. Right. And so then you add that to it. It's just not fair. It makes Murfreesboro an uninviting place to do business.
For small businesses.
For small business. Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
it seems like big business doesn't have a problem.
We open the doors for big box.
Yeah, right. And that's I think, and that's the thing. I think if you go talk to people, they would rather us have more small businesses.
Absolutely.
Right. Especially the downtown area. They want small business. They want to cultivate that. But the government, our government, is not interested in
not small business friendly. And small business, when you spend money on a small business, that money stays in the community. It doesn't go to Nashville or Charlotte or Fort Worth or wherever that corporation is.
Sure. At least
stays here.
A lot of it is,
yeah,
right? Yeah, a large percentage of it. And people don't realize how important to the economy that is, because that small business money stays, it stays here, and it just helps put more grease into the system.
That's right.
Yeah, these larger companies. Well, you think about how there's a lot of complaints about CEOs making huge bucks, right? And you're CEO of a company now, basically, right? I mean, like your own little, right? I'm a CEO of my own little company in a sense, right? But we're not making huge bucks, right? When I'm thinking huge bucks, I'm thinking millions and millions, right? Like Bernie Sanders talks about, right? But like because we have all these big box stores, they siphon up all these little dollars, and it does go into the hands of the very few, right? And so the one thing that you can do from a free market standpoint to try to combat that is to make it easier for small business to compete.
That's correct.
And big business doesn't want that.
No, they don't, because it chokes them out.
And neither do some politicians, right? And I guarantee if you start looking at where they're receiving dollars or what stocks they own, you're going to see some correlation there that's going to make you upset. And that's a shame.
Yeah, and then who donated to their campaign.
That's right, exactly. And so it's unfortunate. Let's see, anything else? What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to make it clear, I may be a realtor, and in our city, in the history, realtors have had a really hard time getting elected. I mean, maybe the real estate cartel type thing or whatever.
Right.
I want to make it clear, I've taken no donations, nor sought the support of any of those developers.
Okay.
You won't see my signs in any of their buildings. You won't see them vocally supporting me. I went out of my way to not even talk to those people about my campaign.
Sure.
That way there's no confusion. I've never worked for a developer. I've never had new construction houses on any of those lots. So I am not your typical realtor candidate.
I see. Okay. So why do you think people worry about that so much?
Because I've talked to a lot of people in this community during my campaign, and there's a major uproar about people thinking that these developers have more control of the city than they need to.
I see.
That when they need a development done, they can kind of go, hey, buddy, I donated to your campaign. I need to make sure this goes through.
Sure.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
I can say no.
No, I've heard stories about developers and former city council members owning boats together, vacationing together. And so you wonder how many deals did they get brought up that didn't get extra scrutiny, like if you or I or any other common person out there brought a deal up, what kind of, and so again, I think you're for it too, but I'm for let's get this playing field as level as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
Right? And then allow people to compete.
Let the free market work.
Exactly. But let's make it flat and free and fair.
That's right. It's not a free market if there's barriers to entry for some and not others.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So on top of that, I think we should do smart growth. And by smart growth, I mean the city planning department and the city council get these developments and growth areas. I mean, sometimes 2 and 3 years before the development actually hits the ground. We know where this growth is going. There's no way we can go, well, we didn't know we were growing, so we couldn't fix anything.
Right.
You know it 1 to 3 years in advance, because from the time it goes to planning till the time it actually breaks ground, to the time you sell your first property, it's not like it's a month down the road.
Sure. So the road should be built.
The infrastructure should be in. The school, if we need schools in that area because we're building 300 homes and it justifies a school, let's build the school proactively instead of reactively.
Sure.
Because guess what happens when you do anything reactively?
What?
The cost goes up.
Sure. Because you can't plan.
Because you can't plan.
Okay.
Oh, I got to have land over there. So guess what? I got to go buy that land right now, and now I'm buying it at a premium.
That's true. That's true. I really have a problem with all the apartments that we've put into place, and then we don't have the roads for them. I mean, I get that we have a need here for affordable housing, and that includes apartments. But when you put an apartment there, you're putting a lot of drivers right in the central spot. And and I'm out in New Salem, and now we are widening it, right? But it's those apartments are already up and running. Well, now we got construction.
And talking about the apartments, there's a whole other issue with the apartments. We're now at the point where we almost have more rental property units than we have single family owner occupant houses.
I don't realize that.
When you take into account apartments, rental houses, rental duplexes, things like that, it's like 50-50 or 51-49.
Huh.
It's really, really close. Well, guess what happens to a transient society in the case of a recession?
They pack their bags.
And leave.
Where the jobs are.
Where the jobs are.
Right.
So we're now at a point where we're either even or just a little slight edge to the rental market.
Wow.
So in the case of a recession, which is going to happen at some point.
What were those numbers in 2008? Do you know?
We were much higher owner occupant at that point.
I see. So we didn't feel
we didn't
recession
feel
like a lot of other places.
And think about it. We only dipped about 17% during the recession.
Sure.
The nationwide average was in the 30s.
Right.
So we had a recession. We didn't get hit.
Right.
This next time, I'm afraid the next time we're going to get slammed.
And that comes back to the people that are planning and allowing these things to happen.
Right.
There are things that the city council could do to improve home ownership.
That's right.
I really do think so.
And the other thing is, think about this as a holistic approach at a macro level. At a macro level, if you have a transient society, you have a tax system that's based off sales tax and property taxes. When this transient society moves and you still have a spending issue, you have a spending issue here at a good time in the economy. But when that economy goes down, your spending, if you don't fix the spending here,
sure,
when you get to here, you have issues.
And that's what happened in Detroit.
That's what happened to Detroit.
Right? They built this up, and the car industry suffered, people left, and then you still have this government infrastructure that's there. It's like a living, breathing business, right? And you have all these jobs, and nobody likes to let anybody go, and so that keeps going, and then
and then when the bottom breaks, it's over.
And people get hurt.
And
they get hurt badly, like happened in Flint with their water and things, and that it's all related. You can't just pick pieces out and say that guy's the enemy. It's all related, all together.
And so I think one of the first things we need to do, if I'm elected, is we need to figure out and sit down and go, okay, this is what the government's responsible for. This is what the private sector is responsible for. Because if we get this messed up in a good economy, when the bad economy's here, it's not just, oh, we messed up, we may need to raise taxes or something. It's we messed up, people are going to be in bad shape.
Right. We're going to hurt.
We're going to hurt
some pain.
Right.
And so that's my real worry too, because, I moved here from Kentucky, from an area that was, had grown some throughout the years, but then in the 90s, it came to a grinding halt. And so I was graduating from high school in 95, and there's no jobs there. There's no reason to come back. So I go to college. I didn't go back to my hometown. Right. And my biggest fear is that I'm going to raise my kids here. And because we don't do a good job of handling our business and thinking about the future, my kids won't be here. And so I won't see my grandkids because our current city leaders made bad choices.
Yeah. And I'm a multi-generational family. Sure. That's really fearful for me.
Of course.
If my kids grow up here, I grew up here, my parents grew up here, my dad grew up here, his parents grew up here. So we go back several generations. I want to be able to see my family still live here.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm running, because this community has been so great to my family and I.
Yeah.
I want it to continue being great for my family and others for generations.
Right. I get that. Makes sense. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Let's see. What about how you feel about tariffs?
Man, if it was a true free market of society where there were no tariffs on either side, where it's just free trade.
Okay.
As somebody that studied economics, free trade is always where you want to be.
Sure.
But if we have a barrier to entry where our stuff's sitting on a boat for 3.5 months, sitting out in the water, not getting dropped, where we can bring more goods, or we have tariffs on that side but not on our side,
right?
You got to even the playing fields.
Sure.
So everything we have going on in our global economy is we're trying to work towards what's good for America. There may be short-term problems with this, with long-term success.
I see.
In the case of steel, that's a national security issue, because in the case that we need steel and we're in a war, well, guess who's producing the steel? Most likely the person we'd be going to war with. Guess who's not going to give us steel if we're in war with them?
That's true.
So some of these items we need to make huge.
I see.
But as an economist, I see it totally different, because everybody wants free trade is where you want to get for the most efficient thing.
Right. You get the maximum benefit.
Maximum benefit by free trade. But if we're the only ones that are trading for free and everybody else is charging us, it's not free trade.
Right. I just finished reading, and you've got kids watching, plug your ears, the book Shit Show. And it does a great job of diving into a lot of the different issues, like from Ferguson to Detroit and all these areas that bombs have gone off in, right? Like economic bombs. And the thing that I find interesting is that we have all these people who are working for next to nothing now. And globalization promised a better life. And I think it has provided a better life for some.
But it depends on your definition of better life.
I guess you're right. Sure.
If having technology and having flat screen TV in every single room, if that's better life, then it'd probably create a better life.
Okay.
But if quality of life, being able to work less, spend time with your family, things like that is what you call better life, it may have hurt us.
Sure. As we race to the lowest wage, right? And so it definitely has. And I volunteered at the Journey Home before. We're having homeless issues right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I often, because I'm a free market economist, I feel that we set up a lot of magnets here in Murfreesboro that bring people in. And I was talking with someone just the other day. I said, you can watch the bus stop, and homeless people are getting off there all the time here in Murfreesboro. And so because we have a caring society, we provide free meals to them and tons of goods and services. And so why not come get the free stuff? I don't blame them. I get it. But, when I was there serving at the Journey Home, I was like, what are these people going to do? Right? Like, because this economy is not changing going back to the old days where you could turn a wrench and make really good money, right? And without proper training.
Well, think about this. I'm 37, so for at least the last 20 years,
mm-hmm.
What people coming up through school have been pounding in their head, you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. We've totally got rid of our trades.
Sure.
Those people, I talk to plumbers, electricians, HVAC guys, mechanics on a daily basis. Those guys make really, really good money.
Covered up in business.
They're swamped. They make good money. They work their tails off.
Sure.
But not everybody's meant to go to college.
Right.
I mean, it sounds callous, but it's true. And
I teach. I see. Yeah. I know. Right. Not everyone has the caliber to do it.
And now we've diluted the value of a bachelor's degree. We're now pretty much, you got to get a master's degree.
Right.
To separate yourself. We need to go back to teaching trades in schools and letting those people that weren't quite college material, let them get a leg up.
Sure. Look, I agree. Like, there's nothing wrong with an honest day's work.
That's right.
And we need to start telling people that that's a good thing.
Right. And if we keep going the way we are, there's not going to be anybody to call to say, hey, my heating and air is out. Or, hey, I got a plumbing problem. My whole system's clogged. Yeah. We've pointed people away from those trades for so long. We're at the point now where there's a scarcity of work, and there's nobody to fill those jobs.
And so and as you know, and I know, in a free market, that means higher wages for those that can do it, and it just means more expensive for the rest of us. Guys like me who have no ability at all in that, just means higher expenses for
more
us.
Expensive for everything. Then people complain this is so high again.
Right. That it all starts with, society goes as your education goes.
That's right.
So anyway, Shawn, I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me again.
And I wish you good luck. I know you're out there knocking on doors, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the name of the game. The great thing about knocking on doors is you get to really get to know people and hear their problems, and it makes you a better councilman if you get elected.
And that's why I want to be the most transparent, communicable councilman there is. And when I'm walking around town, I'm hearing these people say this is what the issues are. And that's why I've gone to the Facebook talking about the issues. Because if we're not talking about the issues, are we serving the people or are we serving ourselves?
That's a good point to end on.
Yeah.
Right. And the voters are going to make that decision. So if you haven't voted, got to get out and vote. There's no line. You walk in, make sure you find Shawn Wright on the ballot, and push some buttons and then do your duty, man. It's so important that you do your duty. And there are other important races out there. The city school board, the county school board. There's county commission races. There's tons and tons of races, tons of reasons for you to get out and do your duty. And so please get out and vote.
Yes, thank you very much. Honored to have you.